Okay, this is OTE, Otis Energy, and as we can see, there's not a lot of data here. I'm not sure when it's come out, but that's all the data we've got. And I've just put up the weekly chart. It's a 2-cent stock, so it's very erratic. I mean, it goes from 1 cent to nearly 2 cents. It's got goes from 1.5 to 1.9 cents in that day, and that's pretty much around that range. So it's very erratic and very not very reliable. Not enough data really to do much with, but I have been able to get a bit of an uptrending pitchfork on it, so I can't get a downtrending pitchfork on it. That works, so that's one thing. I have pointed out here we've had this high volume down when the market collapsed, followed by high volume up, so we had a bit of a reversal there, and price has gone up, come back and tested on top of that level on less selling. Then we get this really high volume bar here turn up. It's a down bar, so smart money typically buy on down bars, but we don't really know what's going on in there until we see some sort of testing or see what price does next. When it tries to go, and we get a low volume down bar, which is testing into this bar here. Now, it could be, at the time when we see that, it could be that they've sold the stock down and then they just finished and it's just going to collapse. But the fact then that the next bar closes high on a nice spread on slightly more volume and clears that area of supply sort of suggests that there's some buying there, and smart money do buy on down bars. So buy, test. It's not perfect because that's just the nature of a 2-cent stock, I suppose. And then the next bar closes high and takes out that area of supply. So I would probably want to see them come back and test this very high supply again, and just to see if they, what the selling pressure is like. So if we see some really low volume now trying to come back into this area, then we can possibly that would be good. But it doesn't look weak. We've got definitely got buying down here in the bottom, a bit of buying, and and that must have been buying because we've taken it out this week, and we've got enough volume to do it, just enough volume to do it, not too high, not too low, and taken out that area of supply. I've made a new high, so I think that I would expect that to come back and test at some stage, and then to get some really low volume. Well, I probably would have a look at, if I just connect these two lots, and if we get some low volume around that area, down bars, possibly on top of that trend line there, would probably be nice. But yeah, it is an erratic stock, so it can go from 2 cents to nothing very quickly. So but it's certainly not acting weak. That's not a weak bar, and because that's confirmed the low supply in the previous bar, and we've had all this buy. There must have been buying because we've taken that out now, so there must have been a lot of buying in there. But I want to see that tested again, I think, before I would be looking at doing anything with it. But as I said, it's very erratic, so it can go from 2 to 1 and very quickly. So I would be wanting to make sure I saw the retrace and some really low volume on the retrace to if I was thinking about buying it. But that looks okay. That's OTE. This is PDN, Paladin, and it's been on a bit of a downtrend, obviously. And what can we do? We can probably connect those so there's a line to have a look at some stage. It did have a bit of a uptrend there that it's broken out of, but I think we can just, we'll look at the weekly, and we might just put a, we've had this, it's just been dropping lately, so we might put a trend channel on it, and I'll just connect those two, and I'll take middle intervening low, which is that one, and that's actually worked out actually. So I'll just do that properly. There we go. So we're in a downtrend on the weekly, and that's as much as you can say about it at the moment, until we see a higher low and try and get some sort of uptrend channel on it to have a look at for the long side. It's in a downtrend until it's in an uptrend. We've got some levels here we can look at if it ever gets back up there, which hopefully it will. So it's the high volume bar there. I'll just mark those off, so there'll be future areas of resistance. Had some high volume come in here, which was potentially buying, but it broke through there. Once it broke through there, and you got no demand under there, it's come down. It's never cleared the high of that bar. And then we get a gotcha bar taking out the low of that bar, and then we're looking to short it if that's what we want to do. See, there's no demand there, trying to get back up. So, but anyway, when we're in a downtrend, we pay more attention to our weak bars when they come in, especially at the top of the channel. Now we have had some high volume down followed by a high volume up, so there's a 2-bar reversal there on very high volume, so there's some buying there, an attempt there to accumulate. So what we want to see now is a higher low form and some testing, some really low volume down bars testing into that supply to tell us the selling's been taken out. So I would mark off the high of that bar, let the price break above it, and don't chase it, and wait for it to come back. It'll come back. If they're bullish, it'll come back, and they'll test that area again. So let it break above it, and possibly even right out of this little channel we've got here, and then come back and test on top of that, get some form of higher low that we can draw a bit of a uptrending line on. And that's when we want to be interested in looking at it. Not yet, even though that does look like there's an attempt to accumulate there. They could also have been buying on this bar and then selling on this bar, because that's really high volume up as well. So you just don't know. We just want to see this whole area cleared, and then come back and test on light volume. And then the next bar closing up on slightly more volume will give us a higher pivot we can look at and think about. The other thing we've got here is we've taken out this pivot low here. See, it's tried to support there, broken out, so there could also be coming up to back test that before. So if you saw some really weak bars like a no demand now like that up thrusting into there, you wouldn't want to be buying that. I suspect what they'll do, even if they're bullish, so even if there's buying here, it takes time to accumulate. It's just not just going to go zooming back up, and if it did, it would come crashing back down pretty quick, because there's not a lot of investment made yet. So you want to see it moving sideways and accumulating for a little bit, or they can rise up and then test on low volume. The longer it moves sideways, the more potential it has, or more cause it has for an up move. So they may even test the low of that bar as well. So but it does look like we have some potential strength there coming in. So high volume down, next bar up, so that's a strong bar, and it's a potential selling climax there. Well, the next bar's high and taking it out, so you could call that. That looks very much like a selling climax, potentially. Now we want to see that tested. to let us know that they're bullish. So I'd be waiting for a higher low on the weekly chart, and then we can speculate on an uptrending trend line. But at the moment, it's made fresh new ground. Yeah, so that's a selling climax. It's gone down on high volume. It's into fresh new ground, and the next bar confirms it by closing high. So we have a lot of potential strength in here. If we can get a higher low on top of that, then that's potentially very strong. But we've got a lot of weakness behind us to work through, so we need to get out of this downtrend, very steep downtrend channel for starters, and make some higher lows, and see if we can get an uptrend channel started, and then we can start looking at going longer term. So that's our Paladin, and this is STB, South Boulder Mines. I've charted it before. I've just marked this area of accumulation where they've spent a lot of time going sideways, and then that's given it a cause for this big move up. You see these high volume up bars, so they're all potentially weak, but then they test it, move it up, test it, move it up, and I think what's happened there is they've been selling this in phases, because these are real. There's no one, and there's a lot of buying there, but who's selling it? There's no one to sell it. There's no trap holders to sell to, so there's professionals selling in there, but they've had the stock to be able to support the price, gap it up to attract new buyers, sell it, hold it up. And the testing hasn't been that good. All that's been happening there is they've been selling it, holding it up, and there's been enough demand and enough buzz to and they gap it up, and that's to avoid having to absorb any trap buyers who bought on this bar and who were trapped in, so gapped it over there, attracted fresh new breakout buyers, supported the bottom, and I think they've been selling in phases until the buzz died out. Eventually run out of retail buyers who are willing to buy, and it's had a spectacular collapse after that. So that would have been a bit of a wild ride going up, but and if you bought in the bottom there, you and there was a setup in the bottom, really high volume. It's come back, gone sideways, moved out on high volume, broke through, and then we get a test, and then it takes out that high on increasing volume. So there was opportunity to get in there, but you probably wouldn't be hanging around once this volume kicked in, but it's kept going anyway. But obviously it can't continue. There's a lot of supply in these, and look where prices come back down to is our first really high, and it's the highest volume bar there is. It's come back down to that area, and we'll just zoom in on there, and there's a high volume down bar here in June. Next bar up on volume, so there's an attempt there to accumulate, and we get lower volume down, price up. If it tries to get up, it's catching. Got full of trapped holders here. That's going to be hard to overcome. High volume up, gets knocked back. A test. It's been having problems getting past this bar. Here's our potentially bullish bar here. That's knocked this price sideways with a little bit of stopping volumes come in, and we're watching if maybe there's an attempt to accumulate there. But you see your high volume gets up, and then it gets knocked back. High volume up, gets knocked back. So that could be an attempt to push through that supply, or we don't know. What I'd be probably looking for is for it to break above this bar here, make a higher low above here, or at the very least above this high volume bar here. If we can get a higher, can break past that bar, past that supply, and get a low volume down bar testing that area. Next bar closing high on a bit more volume, and that gives us a by then we should be away from this. We sort of have started moving sideways away from this steep drop, but if we start getting a higher high now on top of these areas of supply on really low volume, then that that will give us a potential long entry that we can look at. But we want to clear this area to make sure that it is actually accumulation, because it can be redistribution as well, and they can, if it broke down from there and then try to get back up there in light volume, you know it's going lower. But if it can break above that bar and test on light volume and make a pivot above that volume area, then that will give us a potential long entry. So but at the moment it looks like it's been moving sideways, and we're just waiting for it to break either the top of that bar or the bottom of that bar to go long or short. Not that I'd short South Boulder. Or trade it. I probably want to invest. It's the sort of one you want to invest in long term, but you want a good entry long. If you're going long, you want a good entry. You want it to break above the supply and test to tell us all that selling's been taken out. And so we're just going to have to wait and be patient and see what happens. The last two bars are actually quite good. You've got a low volume, really low volume down bar. That's a test. So there's low volume there now. But previously there was high volume, and that's confirmed by the next bar going up and slightly more volume. So that's actually quite a bullish little combo there. I would have liked that to close high though, but certainly it's the last 2 weeks have been okay, I think. But yeah, clear that bar and make a higher pivot low, higher swing low above there, and then we can have a look at what's going on. So that's STB.